Hello, and welcome to the last of the lectures for the Prajnaparamita course. For this lecture, I'm going to turn to the Jataka tale, as it's called, that appears at the end of the sutra. Most people feel that it's an addition that came later, and there are many reasons for saying that. Number one is that the sutra seems to end, and it says, I'm entrusting this to Ananda, and Ananda, don't forget a single word that's been said. Usually that means that the sutra is finished. But in this case, it keeps on going. And this is in all of the earliest Chinese versions, in the Sanskrit, the Tibetan, all of them have this Jataka tale. So let's look at this Jataka tale as it brings us to the end of this sutra that we've been working with. The Buddha says that if a bodhisattva wishes to look for Prajnaparamita, they should do so in the same way as Sadaparudita. Sada means always, Parudita means weeping. So Sadaparudita, the ever weeping one, who is now with the Buddha in this wonderfully long-named realm, Bhishma, Garjita, Nirghosha, Svara, Raja. So Sadaparudita, we're told, even though this is the end of the sutra, that the Buddha said, you should do it like him. Now, he's not a Buddha yet. He's still with the Buddha. He's a bodhisattva. But the way in which he acted in some lifetime is the way you should act. So Sadaparudita, who is always crying and weeping, who has a hard time with trying to figure out what to do with himself, is now held up to the audience as an ideal of how one should act. The story that unfolds is in many ways a traditional outline of the heroic story, myth. Heroes have to go on a journey. They have to look for some prize, the golden fleece. They have to be able to get it and bring it back and share it with the community. Any hero who makes this heroic journey, Joseph Campbell did his famous book on the hero of 1,000 faces. This story is told many, many times throughout the world. It's a human story about heroes. So Sadaparudita is a hero. He's going to go on this journey of a hero. And the thing which he is looking for is not the golden fleece, it's the Prajnaparamita. So let's take the journey. Every hero has to be awakened to their destiny. Heroes don't always know that they're going to be heroes. And Sadaparudita, in the birth that this story describes, seems to have been one of them. However, he heard a voice in a dream. And the voice said, "You should search for the Dharma." And so that's his calling. He's gotten his vocation. He has heard it. He doesn't know what it really means, but he knows that he has to go. And so he starts his journey based strictly on something which came just as a voice, an unembodied voice. While he does his journey, he didn't rely on any worldly things. He takes no concern for his body or his own personal welfare. He just goes out into the wilderness to look for this Dharma. Well, now he's beginning to be more awake, and he hears a voice in the sky this time. This is not in a dream. It's still not embodied. But the voice in the sky says, "Oh, gentle son, go east from here, and you will be able to hear." And instead of the word Dharma, we are now told, you will be able to hear the Prajnaparamita. This voice continues to teach him. All things are by nature empty, without a soul or living force. All things are like illusion, dream, echo, shadow, and mirage. So, O gentle son, if you investigate the reality of things and follow the teacher of the Dharma, you will soon know Prajnaparamita. So, Sadaparudita is still being led by disembodied voices that are telling him what he must do to search for the treasure. And he's now told more specifics. He's told you should go to the east, and you should understand something about the nature of reality as you go east, so that you will understand when you come to hear about the Dharma from a teacher, that you will know the Prajnaparamita. So Sadaparudita, now, just on the basis of these disembodied voices, sets out. But as he walks along, as he does throughout the story, he keeps thinking, I don't know enough. Why didn't I have sense to ask while I had the attention of a voice? So he's going along east, and then he thinks, well, it's all very well to go east, but how far? And if I go east, who am I looking for? What is this journey? I don't know what this journey is. I only know I have to make it, and I know the direction of it. I know that I shouldn't hold on to the reality of things. I should let them go. And so he weeps. He weeps because he doesn't know. He doesn't know who he's looking for. He doesn't know how far to go. He's in a wilderness So his calling has led him to this journey, but in the midst of this journey, he is torn with questions, and he's not exactly sure what should happen. Well, the Buddha goes on to tell the audience, while he was weeping, at last a body, an image of a Buddha, appeared before him saying, "Excellent, excellent, you're on your journey. You are doing what a hero must do. So, oh gentle son, in the past when the Buddhas practiced the Bodhisattva path, they did exactly what you're doing. So you're doing well. You're not to cry. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I'm going to help you." So he's gone from a disembodied voice in a dream to a disembodied voice when he's wide awake to a embodied image of the Buddha while he's awake, urging him on, and in a sense telling him not to cry so much. So Prajnaparamita has gotten a lot of help. And as you might imagine, the help which comes to this kind of heroic figure is because in the Buddhist tradition of his past karma. So he doesn't know what his full mission is yet, except for the Prajnaparamita, and he doesn't know what that means. He's not quite sure who the teacher's going to be, but he's now been encouraged. And so he's told, move along, keep moving. And he's told, you want to know where you're going? Okay, you're going 500 leagues. And where you're going is to a city named Gandhavati. And it's a city that's constructed of the 7 treasures. It's a 7-tiered city. It's 12 links or leagues in length and breadth, surrounded by 7 treasure palm trees. It's prosperous, it's safe, it's peaceful, and its populace thrives. That's why people feel that this belongs to the Northwest. This belongs to the fact that in the Mesopotamian region, we have ziggurats. A ziggurat is a stepped pyramid. Ziggurats could be built as fortresses, cities, if you will. They could be gardens, like the hanging gardens of Nebuchadnezzar. So a lot of people say this idea of where Prajnaparamita is told to go could only happen in the Northwest, in Persia, Iran, Afghanistan, where the ziggurat was a well-known construction, and it's described. And cities were oases with water and birds, and they were built with water where water was present. And so he's going to this wonderful place, and he now knows how far it is. So he is further told, in this city there is a bodhisattva whose name is Dharmodgata. And Dharmodgata Bodhisattva is hardly a bodhisattva that we normally think of in one way, because he's surrounded by attendant maidens, and every day they play and amuse themselves. And when they have done so, they settle down, and after having a good time, this bodhisattva every day teaches Prajnaparamita. And all the people, young and old, everybody, they all come to a great throne which is set up for this bodhisattva to use in this fantastic city that you're heading toward. So now Saraparudita knows a lot. He knows how far he's going. He knows what city he's going to. He knows who his teacher is. And so you can see that the Buddhas have begun to speak to him. When the Bodhisattva Saraparudita heard and had this vision of Buddhas in the 10 directions, these embodiments that were appearing to him, then every one of them came to him while he was in samadhi. So Saraparudita, while he's on his journey, begins to practice. And part of this practice is when he hears the words of the Buddha and he sits into meditation, he goes into samadhi. And when he does, he has new kinds of visions, and these are not the dreamlike visions he had when he was first starting out. They're not even the imagery that he's had when he's been wide awake, seeing Buddhas appear in the sky or hearing voices. Now he experiences these voices in his inner meditative trance state. And all of them are encouraging him and telling him, excellent, excellent. Oh, gentle son. When we were practicing the Bodhisattva path, when we were seeking Prajnaparamita, we were just as you are now. So don't worry. What you're doing is right. You're on your way. Then Saraparudita emerged from samadhi. While he's been in the samadhi, he's been seeing Buddhas in all the 10 directions. He's seen thousands of Buddhas, and they've all been teaching him. And he comes out of that experience, and he looks around me, and it's all empty. He's in the wilderness. There are no Buddhas. And he said to himself, where did those Buddhas in my trance, my samadhi, come from? And where do they go? And he begins to weep. In other words, he's still learning. Even though he's reached a stage of, he is maturing as he goes along on this journey. He's matured to the place that he can, in his samadhi, hear the teachings of thousands of Buddhas. But he's not sure because they come and go. And it leaves him feeling that he doesn't understand what's happening and what's happening to him. Now, he knows about Dharmadgata, but then he has a thought. He says, I can't show up with a teacher that's this famous, a bodhisattva like Dharmadgata who sits on a throne in a fantastic 7-tiered city where thousands of people come to hear him. I couldn't just show up there with nothing to give him? If I did so, my heart will not be at ease. I must have a gift. But as he's thinking this, he realizes, but I don't have any money. I don't know how to get this gift. I can't go empty-handed, but I don't know. The only thing I can think of is I do have a body. And although one could say the thought that you're going to sell your body sounds sexual in a way, but in this case, it's not that. It means that his body is something which he is willing to give up in order to get a gift, just a gift for his teacher. And so Mara begins now to feel the trembling of the earth, and he thinks, uh-oh, this bodhisattva is getting very developed. And now he's going to offer his body so he can buy a gift, and then he'll go to Dharmagata, and Dharmagata is going to teach him wisdom, and then he'll leave my realm. I can't let this happen. So when Dharmagata goes out and says, anybody want to buy my body? Here it is. I need the money. Nobody hears him. Mara makes everybody deaf. And so Dharmagata is left with a problem. And so Mara, who was worried and shut him off, is now presented with this idea of selling his body. You know, this is where the story comes in Shakespeare about the Merchant of Venice. In the Merchant of Venice, a man borrows money from the merchant to buy a gift, and he can't pay it back. And so the Merchant of Venice has said, if you don't pay me back, I get a pound of your flesh. And I'm going to use a scale. And we're going to cut off 1 pound from your chest and put that flesh in the scale until I have a pound of flesh to pay me for what you couldn't. This is an ancient story. It's the story of King Shivi in the Jataka tales. King Shivi makes a vow to save all sentient beings. And the gods look down, Shakra and Indra, and say, does he really mean it? Does he really mean, I'm going to save all sentient beings? So one of them makes himself into a dove, flies down and says, help me, king. You've said you were going to help everybody, and I have a hawk that's trying to eat me, and I know you'll save me. And the king says, of course, here, come on, I'll save you. And then the hawk, Indra and Brahma are working this out, and the hawk says, well, what about me? And the king says, well, I don't want to kill you to save one. I'll have to feed you. Yeah, said the hawk, but you know, I can only live off freshly killed meat. And the king says, all right, I'll give you a pound of flesh. And the hawk says, but when you start cutting off your flesh, it's going to hurt, and you won't give me enough. The king said, take out the scales. You climb on one side, and we'll cut enough flesh off of me to equal it. So here we have the ultimate sacrifice. And this story is still echoing in the world. It's echoing in Shakespeare. So chakra testing. When the Bodhisattva Sadaparudita begins to cut off his flesh and put it into the scale so that he can put enough flesh for the god to say, yes, I need this for a big ceremony, I want to make it as it's going to be a ritual of giving. And the scales never balance. And that is the issue, that the gods say, it's not enough just to do a pound. We want everything. Now, in the heroic legend, heroes get carried away and are self-destructive. And Sadaparudita is no different. He's self-destructive. He's out there in the middle of the street cutting himself up to try to have a gift for Dharmodgata. And a magistrate's daughter in an upper house looks down, and she has good karma, and she says, why in the world is this young man doing this? What is he doing to himself? And so she asks Sadaparudita, what are you doing, young man? Why are you cutting yourself to pieces? And he said, I'm doing it because there is this wonderful teacher here, and I'm giving him a gift so he can teach me the Prajnaparamita. And she says, well, that's something. I would give many bodies if I could come and hear such a teacher. But, and here the hero is aided by a woman, and the woman saves him. And heroes are always saved by a woman who said, don't be so destructive. She said, you don't have to cut off your flesh, just stop it. I'll give you whatever you need, gold, silver, my family is very rich, and I can provide you with this gift. And so the heroic legend still is in place. Sadaparudita is saved from killing himself by a woman whose karma is so good that not even Mara can keep her from hearing him. And so the story of Sadaparudita is that he makes it, he reaches Dharmodgata, he gives him all the jewels and everything which the merchant's daughter has brought with her. The merchant's daughter and 500 maidens have accompanied him so they too can hear the teaching. And so the heroic journey has worked. Sadaparudita has found his way to the treasure, which is the Prajnaparamita. But the heroic legend doesn't just stop with finding the treasure. So Subhuti is told by the Buddha, you should know that due to this perfection of wisdom, one is able to completely fulfill the Bodhisattva path. So if a Bodhisattva wishes to attain the whole wisdom, which is the great golden fleece the hero is looking for, they must have faith in and take up Prajnaparamita. They must study, recite, and give correct attention to it, cultivate it in the way in which it was taught, and this is what a hero must do, broadly teach it to other people. The hero must bring the gift back to the community. And these other people, the community from which the hero comes, they should understand it. They should copy out the scrolls of the sutra, make offerings of veneration, respect, honor, praise, flowers, incense, gems, etc. So we realize that Sadaparudita finds the Prajnaparamita as every bodhisattva should, and finding it, teaches it to others, teaches them to revere it, to respect this teaching. This is the great gift. And so the Prajnaparamita Sutra that we've been studying ends with the line, "This is my teaching." So that's a good place for us to end our lecture and to end the course. I thank you very much for all the time you've spent listening to these lectures, and I hope to see you all again in another situation when we'll take another journey. Thank you very much.